It's Thursday, September 21st, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great show in store for you today. We'll start things off with Town Manager Mark Ells. Our intern Megan Mamlock recently interviewed girls volleyball coach Tom Turco, and we'll get a legislative update from State Rep Randy Hunt. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. The results are in. The special town election held on Tuesday had a small turnout, but the voters have decided to allow for a debt exclusion 2.5 override if the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School vote passes in October. Also in Precinct 12, the town council race has been narrowed from 3 to 2. Incumbent John Norman will be up against challenger Paula Schnepp in November. There will be a household hazardous waste collection this Saturday at the Barnstable transfer station from 9 a.m. to noon. You can drop off your paints, polishes, and stains, no latex please, yard chemicals, household cleaners, as well as auto fluids. You must have a Town of Barnstable Recycle sticker to participate. Flu season is upon us, and the Town of Barnstable's Health Division will hold 2 flu clinics. The first will be held Wednesday, October 11th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and the second will be held November 8th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Both will be held at the St. George Greek Orthodox Church in Centerville. These clinics are open to Town of Barnstable residents only, and the fee is $3. The Town of Barnstable's Department of Public Works invites interested individuals to attend a public hearing regarding planned improvements along portions of C Street and Ocean Avenue in Hyannis. The hearing will be held at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 26th in the Town Hall hearing room. This state-funded project is planned to extend from Main Street to the entrance of Keys Memorial Beach on Ocean Avenue. The hearing will include a presentation providing an overview of existing conditions and potential improvements along this corridor, with opportunities for questions and comments. Up next, we will talk with Town Manager Mark Ells. Joining me now is Town Manager Mark Ells. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we had a big, well, not a big election this week, but we had an election this week.
Yes, we did.
with one question on everybody's ballot. There was a town council, I don't know what you would call it. There was 3 people in Precinct 12, and it's down to 2 now. But
the primary for
yes.
town council seat.
And but the main question that we had across the town was about the Prop 2.5 override for paying for the Cape Cod Tech school vote if that passes in October, and the town voted.
2/3.
Yeah, 2/3 was pretty good.
It was. I don't think it was a big turnout in voters, but 2/3 was a very positive message, I think, that they sent from those who voted. That allowed the project itself is being voted on October 24th.
Yep.
Yes, from 12 till 8 throughout the district, and we're part of that district. What this vote does is it allows for us to absorb the costs that may result from a positive vote for the project itself without having to impact or reduce other service areas. So that's a very positive thing. And what the vote with the term debt exclusion means that the increase is only for the life of the loan. It's not a permanent increase. Right. So when this loan is paid off, it reverts back to that money doesn't stay in the budget and shift somewhere else. It is out at that point. It's over. So
I know when we talked to Finance Director Mark Milne, he talked about how this wouldn't go into effect until 2020. So there's a few years for it until it will come into play on our tax bills, but that all depends on the vote on October 24th. It all
depends on October 24th.
Yep,
if that doesn't pass, it's my understanding that they will go back out again, either with the same project or a modified project. So this vote would still stand as long as that project was active. That's my understanding of how this works. So that's if you're in favor of the project and you want to see it not impact our fiscal budget, then this was a good thing.
Yeah, I think having the vote for the Prop 2.5, I know there's a couple reasons why we did it, but I think it's good for the voters to know going into October 24th that town services will not be affected if they vote in favor of the Cape Tech
That's
school.
correct.
I think that's a great way to go into a vote knowing that information.
Yep.
Yeah. So we also want to talk about the comprehensive field study. I know the DPW and the Rec Division is working together to do a field study on all of the town's recreation fields, ball fields, tennis courts, all those things, and they're having a an information session tonight at 5:30. What can you tell me about that?
Well, it's a very important study for us so that we can put together a plan for how we're going to go forward with making improvements to our recreational fields and in what order we will be doing that. For a long time, there was a feeling that we would come in with requests for particular fields, and the question was always, well, why this one before another one, and then to what level are you going to maintain it once you make this initial investment to improve it? I'm not sure that there are any brand new fields in a new location being looked at. I know that there are many fields in our community that are just that, fields. They're barely a playing surface for whatever sport. So we are looking at all of those. We understand that with a recommendation to go forward with a capital improvement project, you have to have the corresponding O&M costs. You have to have the maintenance side of it. So it's a very important study. There's a survey out that's available for our users, and I encourage everybody to look at this. One group that you didn't name is our schools and our students. This includes our recreational fields for our schools. So we need to hear from that group as well. This isn't just all the others.
Right.
And in many cases, and I think rightfully so, our community looks at all of these fields as the community's resources. And when school's in session, the school uses them, or when a season's in session, the sport uses them. But the rest of the time, we all benefit by them. So certainly, getting feedback on how we will organize this and put forward a master plan is very important. We want to hear from our community. We want to make sure we have limited resources, so we want to make sure we're making the improvements specifically where they need to be made and will most benefit our community.
Yeah, and that survey is on the town's website. It's right on the homepage under notifications. So if you have a vested interest in the recreation fields in town, you should definitely check that out. The last thing I want to touch on real quick is hurricane preparedness. We have Jose this week, Maria maybe next week.
Keep our fingers crossed that we don't. But this is a drill that we've done. I mean, we're a coastal community certainly, so we're even more sensitive to being prepared when any sort of storm event any sort of event, but certainly a storm event occurs. Any time after the 1st of July, we're in hurricane season, right through Thanksgiving, and then we shift right into snow and ice season. So yes, we prepare. It is a kind of a unified command sort of scenario in the event of a state of emergency. Certainly the chief of police helps to coordinate and communicate with our public works, our fire departments, our harbor master, with my office, and really they use me to communicate with our elected officials and our public in general. So a lot of the authority is delegated from me to the chief of police, to the director of public works, and to all of the fire chiefs, and again, the harbor master and his staff, and any and all others that need to intervene in the preparation and then the deployment of our resources during the event. Post-event, a lot more people get involved. Building commissioner, there's also, depending on the magnitude of the storm, there's all, could be engineering, if it's a flood scenario, if it's a road-related scenario. So yes, we do this in many different pieces of planning. Our specific departments run simulations if there were a hurricane, if there were a blizzard, if there were some other major event. Our police department run similar simulations, but maybe a little bit different for a different type of emergency, like a lockdown at a school or some sort of event that might occur at a specific location. Given that we're, quite honestly, an international destination, we have hundreds of thousands of people travel through our community and to our community. That's the level of preparedness we do and that we need to do in this community. Because you want to have run through that thought process to see what works, what doesn't. To the best degree, a simulation can help you do that. So yeah, that's what we do. We do it regularly, and we just had a meeting, prior to Jose. We knew that it was diminishing and maybe going a little more east, so it wasn't going to be potentially the storm it could have been, but it's a very positive thing to have these. We typically do these meetings in the first month or two of July or August typically. And we do them again on a reoccurring basis. So
the town is well prepared for hurricanes. And
as prepared as we can be. We certainly don't want to be caught off guard. On the other hand, we don't want to sensationalize it so that our residents panic or our visitors panic. We want to keep them well informed and have the necessary precautions in place to keep everybody safe.
Great. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
My guest today is Town Manager Mark Ells. Coming up, we will get a legislative update from State Rep Randy Hunt. But first, Megan Mamlock recently interviewed BHS girls volleyball coach Tom Turco. We share that interview with you now.
We're joined today by head coach Tom Turco of the Barnstable volleyball team at the high school. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
It's great reminiscing.
Good to talk to you again.
So this year, what's so special about this year, and what are some of your goals that you have for the team?
Well, I don't have goals for the team. The players meet right after the first practice, and they set their player-oriented goals. They go in with the seniors and with no coaches, and they come out with the team goals, and that's the most important thing.
And how's the team dynamic working out this year? Do you have a younger team? Is it more older players, or how's it working
Well,
out?
we've got 6 seniors, 4 juniors, 4 sophomores, a freshman, and an 8th grader.
Wow, an 8th grader, that's pretty big.
Well, she's got the skill that warrants it, so.
Yeah. Speaking of skill, what do you look for in a player when you're looking through the tryouts and throughout the grades?
Well, you're looking for skill first. I mean, effort and things like that, they're natural, and that's just a natural part of anybody involved in this program. So, you're looking at skill basically in a tryout.
So what's your philosophy that keeps everyone together? What's your mission statement or vision statement for the team and how you coach?
Well, I mean, we base our coaching philosophy and our team philosophy around the book, The Winner Within. And, that's just a book that guides us in the principles of teamwork. And, the name of the book is The Winner Within, A Life Plan for Team Players. And it's something that we've found that works over the last 20 years. So we're going to keep doing it.
Would you say that contributes to the great success that you've had over your past 18 state championships and your records and everything?
I think so. One of the philosophies that he talks about is that you can have a great team, you can have a talented team, but if you don't have a together team, then you're not going to have the championship team that you aspire to be.
So, what's some of your future plans? There's a rumor that once you get to 20 that you might, end your volleyball career once Riley, James, and Ingrid might possibly get you to that. So what's your take on the rumors?
No, that's actually pretty funny. As long as I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and as long as I'm successful, and the players are motivated and driven to be the best in the state, those are the things that keep you coming back. I'm no spring chicken, so, somewhere down the road, but leaving after a player or a couple players graduate is kind of silly. So,
yeah. Do you have a goal set in mind for a number that you want to reach with state championships?
No, the next one.
So good, pretty good. Can you describe your background with volleyball and your career so far?
Well, I played 1 year of club volleyball at Bridgewater State College at the time, and when I came to Barnstable, I wanted to try something other than adapted phys ed, which is, which was the job that paid me, and I was just curious if I could be successful working with mainstream kids, and so I gave it a shot.
So, what made you fall in love with the sport of volleyball? What intrigued you about it?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed it in college. It was the only job available, JV volleyball, back in 1986, so I gave it a shot. And, after some trial and a lot of error, we found some philosophies that worked.
And like recently we had a pretty emotional night with the remembrance of Olivia. Can you take us through that and how, she was a player for you and, much more than that?
Yeah, Olivia was just a special person. She was the type of person that was always positive, always found that silver lining, and just handled the adversity that she went through with hope and a positive attitude. And, she was then and is now, what our players aspire to be.
So like with that in mind and with, how you coach your players and everything, how do you guys stay cool and calm under pressure throughout, the games and then when it gets close to state finals and everything else?
I tried this technique that I heard about at a national volleyball convention. They said if you expect your players to be able to be calm during pressure situations, you have to manufacture pressure situations in practice. And that's why we do the drill guts or 8-ball or things like that, because you have to press them during practice. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're calm during the tough times. You played on that team where we were down 10-3 in the state semifinal match, and nobody blinked. Nobody got frustrated. It was amazing. And on the ride home, I asked you guys, what was it like? And you just felt, you didn't think you were going to ever lose. You just needed to create a momentum, change. So, that's how we handle pressure.
Yeah. And what type of coaching style would you say that you are?
Well, I'm fairly strict, I would say, but I'll listen to my players. They're on the court, and I have high expectations behaviorally. I have high expectations on the court, and I expect players will make mistakes, but players have to be together on the court, and they have to get along and see the good in one another on the court and off the court.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
For more information on the Barnstable volleyball team, you can go to their website, or you can come on down and check out one of their games. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Joining me now live on the phone is Randy Hunt. He's the state rep for the 5th Barnstable District. Randy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always happy to talk to you, Sarah.
So, you guys just got started up. I know that you were off for the month of August and things just got started up back again in September. So I know a bill that you submitted and have been working on is a nip bill for a deposit on nip bottles. What can you tell me about this bill and where you are with it?
You're right. Back in January, when we all filed a total of about 4,000 bills, one of those bills was one that was inspired by an East Sandwich constituent who was tired of going on his regular round of walks and seeing and picking up liquor nip bottles on his way, and asked if there was anything that we could do. We thought about it, and we decided that a 5-cent deposit on nip bottles could help us with encouraging people to pick them up. Now, I think for 5 cents or 25 cents, somebody who is driving around drinking from a nip bottle is unlikely to want to collect that deposit, because an empty container of alcohol in your car is a far worse thing. So we get that. People are still going to throw them out the windows of their cars to not get caught with an empty, or, even worse, get caught by their spouse when they get home.
Right.
So the idea of this is twofold. One is to put a nickel deposit on to encourage people to pick those up, as they do now for soda cans and beer bottles and things that have these deposits on them. And the second thing is to create a bigger conversation about problem drinking and driving, underage drinking, the whole issue of having these nip bottles sitting where we used to in a packy, have gum and mints displayed. Now we have all of these nip bottles displayed. So I think the broader conversation is healthy, but I think the simple act of putting a nickel deposit on these bottles will help us with the litter issue.
It's a great first step. You know, alcohol substance abuse is a real issue across the country, especially here in Massachusetts and especially here on Cape Cod. So I think you're right. You know, with the NIP 5 cents, you know, they're not necessarily going to return that, but there's plenty of people that are out every day that are looking for cans and bottles, and they'll pick those up, and it'll alleviate some of that trash, and possibly in the future maybe some of the return, the deposit, the 5 cents could go towards hopefully some substance abuse help for these people.
Yeah, there are several items that can be tacked on to this. Certainly having the undeposited, unreclaimed money go into a addiction services fund is something we've talked about. And, you know, we really do need to have something that's dedicated to that issue, because it's such a huge issue and something that we need to put a lot of effort, time, as well as money into over a long period of time. It's not a good one that an annual budget process lends itself to. So we can put money into it every year, but if we're short of money, maybe it gets you know, a lower amount of appropriation in a particular year.
Right.
We are looking for ways to provide addiction services, and that goes all the way back to prevention, education, intervention, as well as people with active substance use disorder having treatment, and for the follow-up to make sure that they have the best shot possible to stay on the road of sobriety by having services, addiction recovery coaches, and other things that we're trying to do to make sure that people don't loop back through that active use stage of their life anymore.
Yeah, I know that's a big issue that you've been working on since you've been a state rep, so I really appreciate, and I know that your constituents appreciate the hard work you've put in towards, you know, any substance abuse problem, whether it's alcohol or opiates or what have you.
So in this case, we have this bill that is, it's really quite simple. I didn't want to load it down with other issues at the moment. Really what I would rather have happen is that we do a simple bill that puts 5 cent deposit on these containers and just go there. Mm-hmm. Then have a second discussion about where we might want the money to go. Or another discussion that's come up is through the redemption centers is that they only get 3.5 cents per unit in handling these, and unfortunately these small bottles are very difficult to handle, much more so than, say, empty bottles of beer, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So we also are having some discussions about adding a little bit, maybe a penny, to the service fee that the redemption centers and package stores that do redemption would get from this bottle bill. But those are things that I think it's kind of like the foot in the door, right? So the first thing I'd like to do is have a simple bill that just adds this to the list of items that has a 5 cent deposit. Right. And then we can have the discussion later about how we are going to deal with some of the other issues around this. And I should point out that if you would like to offer your support, that is a very important thing. We actually have more than 2,000 people that have signed petitions either online or in person, as well as many boards of selectmen around the state, environmental groups, and other groups that have signed on and written us a letter of support that's really important to help us get this bill, which is called H3528, H3528, to be able to get through the process and hopefully be law by the time we finish this session.
That's wonderful. And it's a great place to start, like you said. So, first step.
First step.
Yep.
Get this thing passed. Next step, everybody get out there and collect those nip bottles and and have some extra Christmas money
Yep.
for your for your kids and grandkids.
Perfect.
That's what we're going to do with it.
Well, thank you so much, Randy, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate
Have a great day.
the call.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. My guest today was State Rep from the 5th Barnstable District, Randy Hunt. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Calling all dog lovers, the annual Paws at the Beach Pet Festival and Walk is celebrating the opening of Craigville Beach to dogs for the season. This event raises funds to help animals with music from Cape Cod Broadcasting, free microchipping, pet contests, and a 1-mile fundraising beach walk benefiting Cold Noses Foundation. The event takes place Saturday, September 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Register to walk today at www.coldnosesfoundation.org. The Hyannis Youth and Community Center is hosting its 9th annual Fall Touch a Truck event this weekend. Come down to the HYCC on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and take part in this fun, free event. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show for you. We will get to talk to Animal Control Officer Charlie Lewis and hear from Barnstable Recreation Program Coordinator George Noonan. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.